Story that Nehru was asked was told the same thing by the American Secretary of State in the Eisenhower era in the 1950s, John Foster Dulles. Said, are you with us or against us? And Nehru replied, yes. I'm with you when I agree with you, I'm against you when I disagree with you. I have the right to decide which I am.
We are becoming a society of the ors rather than the ands. At one point of time, we could be this and that. Increasingly, we're being told that we can be this or that, and we're being told as well, right?
I think it varies from field to field. I find myself in politics where, indeed, the binaries, the polarization, the sort of construction of opposites has now reached, in our country, an extreme level, where you're quite right. There is no question of being, for example, shall we say, financially a little bit right of center and socially left of center. There's this entire expectation that you are labeled either a libtard or a secular or whatever. And you can't, for example, be seen as a nuanced human being who has a number of responses to the world, some of which may actually fall into a different category from others. So I'm somebody who believes very strongly that diversity is fundamental to what India is all about. I completely reject the bigotry of those who would divide this country into Hindus and Muslims and promote these polarizing binaries, animated as they are by really sort of ahistorical chips on the shoulder. But having said that, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything else about that particular party or the individuals in that party needs to be rejected. It may be, for example, that some of their economic or welfare measures are worth applauding. But how do you accept this kind of complexity unless you're willing to give yourself the time to do it? And indeed, as you've rightly said, to find the words to do it. And I am this and I am that is actually a very useful conjunction. To say that you have to be either this or that. Remember George Bush's line about you're either with us or against us?
Yes, absolutely.
There's a story that Nehru was asked was told the same thing by the American Secretary of State in the Eisenhower era in the 1950s, John Foster Dulles. Said, are you with us or against us? And Nehru replied, yes. I'm with you when I agree with you, I'm against you when I disagree with you. I have the right to decide which I am, depending on the situation.
Also, the importance of just one word. That we don't weigh them enough, do we?
That's
now?
Right.
They've become a little lighter. But there is the telling of the tale, and then there's the listening of the tale. Somebody told me, and that has stayed with me for a very long time, which is that we're increasingly living in an age when we're not listening, we're waiting. Listening is important, isn't it? And that seems to have been something that's receding into the background a little. Would you agree?
Yeah, very much so. In fact, listening is important, and then hearing is even more important. Because there are many people who listen, allow what you're saying to wash over them, and then come back reiterating everything they believe in without actually having paid attention to what you've said. Sure. So listening is only part of the challenge. Hearing, to say that I've heard you, in other words, I've understood your point, I've absorbed it, I may still disagree, but I've at least taken what your convictions are into account before I disagree. That idea is sadly not always present.